Hey, welcome back. This is Jeff Russ, General Programming Concepts. Today we're going to look at the C programming language. The syntax of C is copied by a lot of other languages. So if you know C, it's very easy to pick up other languages. We're not going to dwell too much on C-specific things. We're going to talk about the common things. And then we'll move to C++, which is basically an expanded version of C. So okay, let's first look at statements. And a statement is a single line. It's like a sentence. And there's a number of things you can do with a statement. You can declare a new variable. You can assign it a value. You can reassign it to another value. You can execute a couple of operations or one operation, usually not too many. And you can also do a combination where you both declare a variable and assign its value right away. So here is a declaration of a variable, and we'll call it age, and it has a data type integer, so it can only be a whole number. We have to have the semicolon at the end. All statements have a semicolon at the end. Other languages let you skip them, but C does not. At this point, age doesn't really have a defined value, and in C it could be anything, because C does not blank it out when it gives it to you. It's whatever it was before, whatever was sitting in that block of memory is now age. So age has some random, unpredictable value. So it's unsafe to have an uninitialized variable. So typically you'd want to do it both at once, where you assign it as you declare it, and it would look like this. But if you don't know what it'll be until you do something else, then you would declare it without the assignment, and then when you reference it later, you no longer need to put int before it. You can just type it, and you put the equal sign and whatever it's going to be assigned to the right of it. And it has to be in that order. You can't put what it's being assigned to on the left. That will not work. And even here, you need a semicolon because this is also a statement. You can, if you want to declare a bunch of variables, put them all in the same sentence with commas separating them. Some can be assigned, they don't all have to be assigned, but they all have to be the same type, and they all have to be separated by commas. So we can take a variable and use its value to assign a different variable so that both variables will have the same value. And you would do it like this. The age variable, its value is being given to hats. It's not the other way around. So usually statements are parsed from the right to the left. So you know that that age value is determined and then it's put into hats. And you can chain, this is kind of more advanced, but it's good to know even at this point. You can assign a value to two different variables in the same statement by using two equal signs, or even more than two. You can do many. And in this case, the evaluation of age plus 1 is made first, before any assignment occurs. So again, this is parsed from right to left. Age is added to 1, but that doesn't change A until the assignment is made to the age variable, and then the value of age is given to hats. So age and hats are now the same, and they equal what age was plus 1. Another thing you can have in a statement is a declaration of a function without defining what it is. You'll usually see functions defined and initialized at once, but sometimes you want to hint to the compiler that a function exists so you can use it without having to put the definition at the top of the page. So sometimes you don't want to clutter the top of your page with definitions that aren't even being used yet. You want to focus the person looking at your code to what you're doing and not what you will do. But you would need to put a declaration before you use it, or else the compiler doesn't know what it is. So if that's the case, you would use a statement and it would look a lot like a declaration of a variable, except it's going to have parentheses after the name of the variable. Some people put a space between the variable name and the open parentheses, and some people don't. Inside the parentheses is our arguments, if there are any. It doesn't need to have any. And they have to have a type before them. So you can think of it as a variable declaration inside of those parentheses. And you can have a comma to put a second one and a third one and a fourth one, etc. So now the int data type that you see on the left, that is what the function returns when it's executed, what the data type of the return is. So Think of it like a variable. A variable returns its data type. So does a function, except you're really determining how it returns that. And the arguments do not need to be the same data type as the return. You can mix. So that's statements. When you are defining a function, you would not use an equal sign as you do with a variable. You would put, just as we saw with the declaration, the return type, the name of the function, the parentheses with arguments, then no semicolon. You put a opening curly brace, and then all of your code, and then a closing curly brace with no semicolon after that. The original style for this would put the opening curly brace on the same line as the header, but you can also put it on the next line. I do not recommend putting any code together with that opening curly brace. I'm going to put it on the next line. And then you list all your statements and you have your closing curly brace. All of the statements are indented in from the indent level of the header and the braces. So the header and braces are at one indent level, and then all the statements are in one level. And you have to put return at the end. So the last statement in the function has to begin with the, well, it doesn't have to be the last statement, but you could end early with a return. Whenever you see a return, the statement ends. So the return has to return a value, and that value has to be the same data type that you declared the function to be. So now for invoking a function, it looks a lot like the declaration. Well, you don't have to put the data type in the argument between the parentheses. You just put the variable name or an actual value that you're passing in. And then what's returned from the function is returned to the left of it, usually. So you would, if you wanted to assign the output of a function to a variable, you would put the variable that you're assigning and an equal sign, and then the function invocation to the right of it, ending with a semicolon because it's a statement. This syntax of function name with parentheses comes from mathematics. It comes from calculus, like you would see f of x equals y, where f is the function that you're applying to x, and y is the return. So that's where that comes from. At this point, we pretty much have all the tools we need to assemble a small program and actually run it. And that will be what we do next time, so I will see you then.